Others are fast-moving.
Unlike other big rallies,
Bit earlier at about 7 a.m., a group from the Coast Guard.
Welcome to #PHVote 2013. Today on Rappler.
The Supreme Court is treating social media as if it were just a scion or a successor or just another classification of traditional media. It is not.
Senator Santiago says the Supreme Court's ruling on online libel is wrong.
So in a situation where the law is not so clear on whether you're going to go to jail, then the only way to protect yourself is to be even more conservative about what you say in public.
Lawyer J.J. Dicini says the cybercrime law has a chilling effect on freedom of speech. And gunfire shatters a shaky truce in Ukraine as deadly clashes in Kiev continue. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Senator Miriam Santiago says the Supreme Court ruling on online libel in the cybercrime law is wrong because the provision is too vague and broad. In a press briefing Thursday, Santiago says the online libel provision violated two principles of constitutional law against vagueness and overbreadth. Santiago says the ruling poses a, quote, a very significant constraint on the fundamental rights to free speech and free expression. Santiago also says the decision mistakenly treated the internet as similar to traditional media.
The Supreme Court is treating social media as if it were just a scion or a successor or just another classification of traditional media. It is not.
Santiago joins her other colleagues in calling for the decriminalization of libel or the removal of the prison penalty. The lone senator who voted against the law, TG Ngona, filed a bill Thursday to decriminalize libel. Lawyer J.J. Dicini, one of the petitioners against the cybercrime law, says the online libel provision has a chilling effect on free speech. Media groups and netizens say the provision violates the right to expression. Dicini also says determining whether something is libelous is a tricky area of the law.
So in a situation where the law is not so clear on whether you're going to go to jail, then the only way to protect yourself is to be even more conservative about what you say in public.
But others, like lawyer Chris Lau, say it makes people more accountable about what they say or post online. Lau was a victim of cyberbullying in 2011 because of a video that went viral online.
It's wrong to say that having this law curtails freedom of expression speech. You can still say whatever it is you want, but if that injures somebody, you have to answer for that.
On Tuesday, the Supreme Court upheld most provisions of the controversial measure, a decision praised by agencies like the National Bureau of Investigation. Dicini also says the law will help in law enforcement because its definition of the different types of cybercrimes are consistent with international definitions.
If you look at the first four sections of the law, they are defining different types of cybercrimes. Since our cybercrimes are defined in the same way as in all these other places, when we ask these countries for assistance in law enforcement events, it's easier for law enforcement agencies to coordinate on an international basis, and since a lot of cybercrimes are cross-border in nature, so that will help. And the second thing that's important is
for our social media post of the day, netizens react to suggestions of a 4-day school week to help ease traffic when major infrastructure projects begin. Darwin Hermoso Sarumina says, wrong approach. First step, they should go after those thousands of colorum buses and taxi cabs plying the metro. But Arnie Trinidad thinks it's not a bad idea. He says, this is not a totally useless idea. It will contribute to decongesting the streets somewhat. Of course, this will just be a stopgap measure to the traffic problem, but it is worth a try over the next 3 years. 12 international music acts, 43 local musicians. Avid music fans are counting down to the biggest music event in the Philippines, the 7107 International Music Festival. But insiders in the events organizing industry believe the money for the event may be linked to Janet Napoles, the alleged mastermind of the Pork Barrel Fund. Napoles' son, James, is a friend and former business partner of festival organizer John Herrera. But the organizers deny Napoles' involvement in the festival, saying they are funding the event with their own money and through sponsors. Documents show the incomes of the organizers' declared businesses aren't enough to mount an extravagant event worth hundreds of millions of pesos. Their cash assets total only 18.95 million pesos, not enough to pay their headliner, American rock band Red Hot Chili Peppers. The band's talent fee alone amounts to 86.2 million pesos or $2 million, excluding taxes and logistical expenses. The entire festival, which features both local and international acts, is estimated to cost 253.4 million pesos. Less than a month before the festival, the Department of Tourism, or DOT, distanced itself from the event and says it would ask organizers to remove the DOT seal from its promotional materials. DOT clarifies it has, quote, no direct business dealing with them other than that we acknowledge 7107 to be a help to tourism. The Sandigan Bayan denies the latest motion for bail by former President Gloria Arroyo. Arroyo faces plunder charges over the alleged misuse of 366 million pesos worth of charity funds. Arroyo's lawyers earlier filed a motion for reconsideration, saying the former president is sick and has no plans of being a fugitive. But the court denies the motion and affirms its earlier position that the evidence against Arroyo is strong. The Philippine Military Academy, or PMA, says it followed due process when it decided to dismiss a graduating cadet. The family of Cadet Jeff Aldrin Cudia criticized the PMA for what they say was a trivial cause of his dismissal, that he was reportedly late for 2 minutes in one class. But in a statement, the PMA says it decided to exclude Cudia from this year's roster of PMA graduates after their findings showed Cudia violated the honor code. The honor code asks cadets to, quote, not lie, cheat, steal, nor tolerate among them those who do. Cadets guilty of violating the code are asked to resign or face ostracism. In a rare move, on Wednesday, Armed Forces Chief of Staff General Emmanuel Bautista orders a reinvestigation of the case.
I have ordered a review of the case so that we can find out the real facts behind this. And so let's wait for the result of the investigation. The case has been submitted to General Headquarters. It has not reached me personally, but I have ordered that it be remanded back to PMA for review.
Gunfire shatters a shaky truce in Ukraine as the bloody clashes in the capital, Kiev, continue. News reports say live rounds were used, but it's unclear who fired them. At least 26 people died in the fighting that left parts of Kiev's historic city center engulfed in flames. Just hours earlier, President Viktor Yanukovych called a truce with the opposition in a bid to ease tensions. The government blames the protesters for breaking the truce. The deadly protests began November when Yanukovych ditched a trade deal with the European Union. This YouTube video with over 3 million views explains the protesters' cause.
I'm the Ukrainian, the native of Kiev, and now I am on Maidan, on the central part of my city. I want you to know why thousands of people all over my country are on the streets. There is only one reason. We want to be free from a dictatorship. We are civilized people, but our governments are barbarians. We have this freedom inside our hearts. We have this freedom in our minds. And now I ask you to build this freedom in our country.
Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 4, a Thai court orders the government not to use force against protesters a day after street clashes left at least 5 dead and dozens wounded. For several months now, protesters have taken to the streets in a bid to force Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra from power. The ruling by the civil court could complicate the government's handling of the rallies, though they have promised to avoid using violence. And at number 8, Facebook is buying the fast-growing mobile messaging service WhatsApp in a deal worth a whopping $19 billion. The mega deal supports the world's biggest social network with a 450 million-strong WhatsApp. The messaging service is set to be operated independently with its own board. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page that crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have affected our readers and our viewers the most in the last 24 hours. These stories, these 10 stories, have gotten the most number of votes on their mood meter. If we take a look today, Natasha Gutierrez's story, Who's Funding 7107 International Music Festival? That story lands in the top 10, and you have, interestingly, 9% annoyed, 10% amused, and a whopping 64% angry. The story that's gotten the most, you heard about this story on the PMA cadet, 2 minutes late for class, PMA cadet dismissed. Also, 59% angry. But you see 9% annoyed. That purple coming out here in the story that's gotten the most number of votes in the last 24 hours. Same as yesterday's. Olivia Billboard mystery solved. 24% amused, 52% annoyed. That, along with the annoyed votes and other stories, gives us the mood of the day. Today, most people are annoyed. Well, that's Rappler's newscast for today, Thursday, February 20th, 2014. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.